How art thou, thou globby bottle of cheap stinking chip oil? Come and get one in the yobbles, if you have any yobbles, you eunuch jelly thou. You may have recognized that quote. Clockwork Orange is a rather famous book that played into a lot of themes about the collapse of the skyrocketing crime rates, the collapse of control of the youth, the reactions that governments can have, and the flaws of justice and free will, and is it being a good thing to if you're not choosing to be good and so on. It's a good book. Interesting movie. That's not exactly what I'm here to talk about, though, because I want to talk about the fact that this is probably the best example of how in-universe terms can turn a page into one step removed from gobbledygook. And I actually got thinking on this, even though so I read this book like a year ago at this point. I just watched the movie. I was thinking about this because of what I brought up in a previous video. Feth. Feth it. I want to talk about made-up words and swear words and insults and jargon. So in Gaunt's Ghost over here by Dan Abnett, which I brought up in my review of it, the Tanith use Feth, the name of one of their tree gods. Oh, tree gods. Yeah, no, it's a stand-in for the F word. And it's used consistently as a stand-in for the F word. But you get that kind of in-knowledge appeal where you, the reader, you get to see that they're saying something wrong, but you know what they mean. You're in on it. You're with them. You get that connection with the characters. And it's used a little lightly in Gaunt's Ghost. It's pretty heavy in Clockwork Orange. Some of the sentences almost don't make sense until your brain kind of clicks it together. When you're talking about, doing the in out with one of the Dvochkas. I almost hesitate to use this as an example because I'm not sure Anthony Burgess made that up. Maybe that's just 1980s British slang or something. I'm a Yank. Sue me. But lots of stories make up words. Specifically, they like to make up swear words, and I think that has a lot to do with there is an impetus to censor obscenity. Now, you talk about censoring books, and people are going to screech about, oh, they're banning books from libraries, when it's like, no, elementary schools do not need books with pornography in it or something. But people self-censor, and part of that is so that they can target things like the YA demographic, because that's where all the money is, as I'm sure you figured out at this point if you're watching these videos. Both because it's allegedly selling to teens and so on, and it's because it's selling to adults who have a lot of disposable income and don't want to be intellectually challenged. I think that is basically who consumes YA. You have to do some things to clean it up for kids, though, for it to be considered that genre, or you will get pushback. And one of the things is you're pushed away from swearing, and you're really not supposed to have like graphic sex in it. Although I hear people are doing that nowadays. That's a topic for the future once I track down and force myself to read some of that garbage. Which, by the way, comment below a book labeled YA that is not YA. I want to know some examples, please. Comment below, drop a like, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. But, you still want the characters to speak naturally so that you have that verisimilitude, the immersion, but you don't want to actually say the swear word. So what the authors do to work around it is they make up a word. And in Gaunt's Ghost, it's Feth. In Clockwork Orange, it's arguably more disgusting, the things that they say, rather than just, the typical terms. But I went on Twitter, which you should follow me at here, because I'm going to start trying to do some engagement videos, because, no, I'm not out of ideas already. So I posted on Twitter that I was going to be recording today, and I need some examples of fictional swear words. And, let's take a quick look, see how many that you are going to recognize, because you probably will. I think the most obvious answer actually showed up first. Brandon Sanderson. He likes to do these massive epic fantasy world building stuff, and that's fine. That's his genre of choice. And one of the things is he likes to swap out the swear words as well for in-universe specific things. Like in The Way of Kings, they like to say things like storms. As I recall, when I read The Way of Kings a couple years ago, I swear he wasn't even using them the way swear words get used. They say storms like an ejaculate just to add emphasis to something. And I don't know about you, but I don't hear people swearing like that typically. Uh, the next comment I've got on here is from Sorry, I'm not going to be able to display my screen. I'm not that technically competent with OBS yet. I'll figure it out one day. Frel from Farscape. Shazbutt from the Unreal Tournament. Frack from the new Battlestar Galactica. Some indie author named Futile Reality. I don't know. Apparently uses What the Fukushima. It's probably a reference to something. Starship Troopers. Okay, this person is claiming that Bought the Farm originated from Starship Trooper, but I don't believe that. But that said, sometimes an insult breaks out of its literary confinements. You probably don't think about this. Even it's more like a factoid that English professors like to, tout about. That Shakespeare invented tons of words, and I think that I pulled up a list here, and a lot of them are unimpressive. Like lackluster is apparently a Shakespeare word. Skim milk, allegedly. Swagger, unaware, uncomfortable. But then there's like actual insults that still stick around, like green-eyed, to mean that someone is jealous. That came out of, let me just make sure I'm reading this right, The Merchant of Venice. We don't really associate that with a reference to Shakespeare's play at that point. It's just part of our English vernacular, because English is a growing language. I think actually the most shocking example here is he made up the word bandit. To call someone a bandit is an insult that was fabricated for Henry VI. So I think what that really speaks to is how much a reader can connect with that piece of jargon that they're given. It's a bit of a puzzle that they have to put together. They have to find the context clues and see how people are using it and see good, examples of it in use, and then they can reuse it as well. And then they've learned something, even though it's completely meaningless. But humans have a natural tendency to want jargon. They want to be able to adjust their language to show that they are part of a group. That's why you'll see subcultures have their own sets of terms. So like the cyberpunk setting that that basically coined it from the original tabletop game, the Cyberpunk 2077, the video game, and then recently the anime Cyberpunk Edge Runners. They're all the same setting, the same source material, and that's why everyone uses choom in it. I would like to give examples of, like, I don't know, skater culture or something, but I'm not a skater. I don't know skaters slang and jargon. I know some internet jargon that is probably terms of service violation at times, because that's part of it. Is people do like to swear and insult people. Not everyone's kosher with that, and part of the interplay of knowing who you can insult and how you can insult them is why people like it. It is a one way that humans show familiarity, and when a story fabricates that, it can create a subtle connection between the reader and the consumer. Sorry, between the reader and the characters. So I just think it's something cool to think about. And if you want to help engage with these Twitter discussions, and eventually I'll learn how to like put you up on the screen and highlight you, because there are other people that are trying to highlight their personal works. Litany of Lore. My sci-fi novella is Catholics in Space and No Fictional Curses, but I made an effort to only use Christian-related curses. It's part of the world building. It gives that immersion for readers. Personally, in my book, Faceless, which is face down back there, I don't feel like getting it. That's part of my cyberpunk setting. It is the Bastion world. And everyone in that, some of my readers laugh about it because it's used all the time because I swear too much, and that comes through in the dialogue that I create. But the setting of Bastion takes place after what is generally agreed to be the biblical apocalypse. So no one's really religious after God basically is assumed to have basically tried to kill everyone. The religion has kind of died out in this world. So I specifically did not ever want a character to say Jesus Christ, that to take the Lord's name in vain, just because that's not part of the vernacular anymore. But it's still part of speech, so I wanted to choose a replacement for it. So if you read my book, you'll notice that people say, the main character Elliot a lot, will say bastard's blood instead, which is a reference to something in universe that, you have to read the books to figure that out. It's a specific reference. It's not just generalized, although it sounding like it's a general complaint is why I think it works. It's in the same, the 3-syllable stress structure of someone wanting to complain about it, and I use that as a replacement, a stand-in. If every time you read that, you could just replace it with someone going, "Oh, Jesus Christ." And that's exactly how they're supposed to sound in your head when you read the book, but they are saying something specific. They're saying something about their world, about their history, because Faceless and the soon-to-release sequel, stay tuned on that, please. I gotta plug my books, come on. Takes place in 2140. There's 100 years of history to this setting between today-ish, more or less, although it diverged in 2012, and where the book takes place. And it would be weird if there had been no cultural drift. So there's a lot of insults I have to use, and it's because it gives you that immersion. It gives you that puzzle to pick apart. It's fun in a story. And you get to talk about it with other fans, right? Everyone who's watched the Cyberpunk Edge Runner movie or anime, they can call each other chooms. Like, they know what's going on. It's that I know this thing and I know you know it as well, so let's talk about it kind of deal, which I just think is kind of great about storytelling. So, I would say drop your favorite fictional swear word, but I already did that on Twitter, so I'm going back to tell me about the outrageous, poorly labeled YA novels. And drop a subscribe, please. Peace.